Welcome to another episode of The Word Is Out. I am your host today, Marcella Taylor. Today we talking about prison. Don't you know African Americans make up 13% in America, but we make up 40% in prison. I mean, come on now, things got to change about that. We got a great panelist that's going to talk about the ins and outs and the ups and downs of prison. And we about to lay it down like mayonnaise, like I always say it on the show. We keeping it real in the honey. We going straight from our face into these great people here. Today, to my right, we have my brother.
Street Counsel, Norton, New Jersey.
He's blessing the word is out, everyone. So at his right, we have
Street Doctor.
He's about to lay it down like mustard. That's my other saying coming out to the TV near you. To his farther right,
Mr. Taylor.
Mr. Taylor. I don't know why he want to keep his other name silent, but hey, we talked about that later on. To his right, we have this brother right here who came on the show probably like 8 billion times. I told you should have a show on BET. What's going down, brother?
Kirby, to keep it in one motivational speaker.
We got Mr. Kirby, so you know he about to lay it down. You know what I mean? So we talking about prison here today, fellas. You know, I have quick questions here for you. My first question is, when you go to jail, what is it like when you first step in jail? I mean, I've never been to jail, so I know a lot of people want to know about being in prison. So when you go to prison, what's the first feeling of this? Like a reality shot? Anybody want to talk to Street Doc?
Yes. This been a long time, but you know they say the service don't change, only the crown. What happened was 1959. That's when I first got locked up. I went to a youth center, and it was like scary, like because I'd never been there, right? Mm-hmm. But from that first time, I met other adults who was hustlers and what have you, and that stayed with me. Mm-hmm. And then again, then I started getting busted. I went to they had this place called Annandale, 1964. I was there, and that was the wake up call. When I went in there, they had me like in the orientation thing, and you can hear the mess hall where they was doing the trays. I thought they was in there killing people. I mean, I never forgot that, and that stayed with me a long time. But since that time, things has changed, but it remains the same. It's just a different scenario, but it's all the same.
Do you think, like, you know, when somebody go to prison, I mean, like, once they get there, if they see something like that, they're like, man, I ain't trying to come back here.
And no, that was my thought. But you know what, though? The peer pressure. And when I was coming up, you know, everybody was hustling. I was in that environment. Right. And I was attracted to that. Mm-hmm. And was raised by a good family. I was raised by a minister. Right. You know, but once I left, thank you, Jesus, and went outside, I was in the game. I was in the Noble Kings and Queens.
That's a good question right there, though. How come, I mean, well, not how come, but a lot of people that come from good families, they wind up in prison? Because I hear that a lot. They're like, I came from a great family. It's not just broken homes, people that's coming from prison that's doing legal stuff on the street, and then they go to prison. You know, I'm sorry I'm jumping up my words, but I got to try.
The percentage, I think that you look at the percentage, you have a larger population that's in prison because of the lack of fathers or broken homes. Specifically, my situation started in '93 when I was raised all my life by my grandmother. All right. From there, 6 months after graduation, I entered the prison. You revert back to the original question that you had: what was prison like inside? Experiencing it from the first time, we're talking about a person that went from graduation 6 months later to incarceration for his first time. It was like a warehouse. It was like a warehouse it was like a controlled warehouse environment. You know, you have many people, black and brown faces that consist of the population that's in the prison. However, you have a lot of people that's not of the opposite race, which is the whites, that control the population. You know, so it looked at when we look at this scenario of slavery and what took place back in the 60s and the 50s back here in the rise out here in North, it was the same thing. We have uniform officers, white officers, that's controlling that prison population, you know, or the population out here, and that's how it was in there for me for my first time.
I look at it more like cattle. You were more like cattle. Like
you shipping through a lot of people?
Yeah, because when they take you, they warehouse you But then they come out, they brand you with your IDs and the wristbands that they give you, and they give you one uniform, and they just moving you through. They come through and count and see how many everybody's in here, and make sure all their property's in one place, and they do whatever they want to do to they feed you like cattle, because you know everything. My first experience going to jail, I'll be honest with you, my first time down in adult prison, I was scared. You know what I'm saying? Coming through, because I never been there before. I didn't even know I was going, because they take you through transitions. You got to go from the jail to an annex to a prison. You understand? So or correctional facility. And all I know is when I come back from a classification, they say you going to Albert C. Wagner. It's my first time. Right. It's back in the early '90s. Well, in the mid '90s, and they say you going to Albert C. Wagner. I don't know what that's at. So when I get back to wherever I'm going, I'm like, what's Albert C. Wagner? They say, you going down boarding town. I'm like, boarding town? I heard so many rumors and stories about that place, you feel me? I was kind of nervous, you understand? But once I actually got there, that went away, because I didn't realize that all my other people that I knew was already down there. And
so was it like the stories that you heard, like, oh, it's going to be crazy, people getting raped, beat for no reason, stuff like that?
Not like you hear, understand? It was wild, but it wasn't like you hear, because during the course of years and as time goes on, the transition changes things, you understand? Right. So you gotta go. I mean, whatever happened then probably wasn't happening now, understand? So, but it's still a wild place. But before I actually got there, I was way more nervous than from when I actually got there, you understand? Mm-hmm. Because once I get there, I'm like, oh, this all this is about? And this is going on down here, I could deal with that. You know
right. So, Kirby, let me ask you a question. Should people be concerned when people tell them, oh, is this a terrible place in prison? Or should they have that same fear where they hear about people saying that stuff when they go into prison? Or they should just relax, just calm, just go in there and just be you?
To answer that question, you should have a fear of some of the stories you hear. But we are a generation of not caring, because the caring went away from us long time ago in the community, as far as being scared or afraid of anything. For me, going in, I started off at the youth house. My first time in the youth house was no different than me being on punishment. It's 6 of us in the family. I come from a great family, but punishment was the norm when you did something wrong. Right. So if I'm on punishment for a month, a couple of weeks, oh, this youth house thing wasn't nothing. And then when I got to the youth house, you got all this play. It was no discipline in the youth house. So you go from one juvenile facility to another juvenile facility, and you thinking, oh, this is like home away from home, like some type of camp. So your psychic plays a big thing on you to make you think, this is nothing to be afraid of. I can fight. Ain't nobody gonna do anything to me. The ones who are not so much violent, prone, or conditioned or coached with violence, they go in there because they're nice people. You have a lot of nice people who just not about all that. So when they go in, for them is a little fear and iffiness and shakiness. But for a person who's like out here already fighting and playing with guns and doing all this stuff, their mentality is totally different. Yo, you come at me, you're going to get it however you want it. So I went from one to the next stage to the next stage till it finally dawned on me. All this black knowledge and all this black power, I had it here in my head, but I didn't have it in my life. I didn't have my arsenal and knowing how to put it together to utilize it to break the cycle. And a lot of us get caught in the cycle. You got people been out here for years who's caught in a cycle of their mind because they think I'm locked up here. Locked up is just not a physical thing.
So
it's a mental thing.
So you train yourself in the mind like you was in prison.
You train yourself in prison and out of prison how to survive.
Right.
We have an innate ability to know how to adapt and survive. Well, if you was to go join the military right now, they would train you as a soldier to be able to adapt if you got captured. When you go to prison, you're trained in how to deal with all these things that's coming at you, because you got your people coming at you, you have the officers coming at you, so you have so many injustices you're trained to deal with. If you lose your parent while you in prison, you can't snap and wild out. You can't get all emotional and start, you can't do that in there.
Self-train, that's what you're
So
saying.
you have to self-train yourself in certain things. In this self-training yourself, you strip yourself. So you put on 1,000 masks to be accepted or to go with that thing. But that's not who you are.
So, but people who do not know about prison, everybody think everybody in prison is like savages. I mean, like you gotta shoot somebody a fair one, which is a fight, just to get that respect. Is that true?
No, not at all. Not at all. Prisoners have been mislabeled since the beginning of time.
Mm-hmm.
And you're gonna always have that until you have these type of dialogues where people can tell the truth. See, commercials and TV shows, like you get Tara Banks, Oprah Winfrey, they go in there for a day and say, I spent the day inside the prison, but that's commercials. So.
Oh, okay. Let me ask you, Brother Bass. I gotta introduce yourself to the people out there.
Mr. Bass, Dilettante J Bass from North New Jersey.
Well, what is your take on brothers that go to prison? Do you think is it crazy? What's your take?
Well, you know, my take on this is it is like he said, a cycle. Mm-hmm. So I look at it like, first off, even before you get to prison, we already in the prison. And we already have things bothering us or stopping us from reaching our goals and everything like that. Like, for example, it's hard for brothers to get a job. Now this brother dropped out of school, and the only thing he's left to do is sell drugs or do whatever he can do to take care of his family. So now he gets locked up. Now a whole nother cycle of going is happening. So my take is, it's like this. We have to strengthen the community ways though to prevent the brothers from going to prison, or the sisters, because a lot of times we keep saying brothers, but the women population is increasing drastically. And it's like beyond norm, because sometimes we all men, with the exception of Miss Bay, but there's a lot of women out here trying to prove themselves also, prove they're the toughest. They're joining gangs, and sometimes the women are more ruthless than the men.
I don't mean to cut you off. What do we blame that on with the women population going to society, no jobs? I mean, like no means to take care of their family? Opportunity.
I say we blame it on the man. Because if the man was in his position, the women would be out there doing what they're doing. So when you look for blame why the women out there joining gangs and doing what they're doing, that's because us as men dropped the ball and left them out there naked. When we do what we do, we have kids out here and we have females out here. When we go in, we leave them. So we leave them to be susceptible to joining the gang, out there selling drugs to survive, because this is what the man left them with.
Well, let me ask you a question, Malik. Introduce yourself to the camera.
Peace, brother Malik, Asiatic black man here in the wilderness of North America with the weight of the world on my shoulders.
What's your take on the whole situation? What did you feel like when you went in?
When I went where?
When you was incarcerated?
I actually don't know what I felt like when I went to prison, because the first day I went to prison was December 27, 1971, when I was born right here in this here broken community that we call home. Like, it was all destined. Going to the prison down South Jersey, it was all part of the script. That's just the last result. But we are living in prisons on the street. We're living in prison with a prison state of mind. I was in prison when I was allowing myself to submit myself to powder. I was in prison when I was allowing my daughter to act like a little boy. You understand me? So again, the prison you're talking about is, you're just talking about the building, or you're just talking about prison as a whole?
Well, you took it another level.
Wait, no, because the reason why I ask that is because we have to be mindful. Just like violence, it's not violent when you see a man shoot a man. It's violence when you see that situation erupt and you don't fix it before it gets to that. That's violence. So again, going to prison is not jumping on a blue bird going down South Jersey. No. Prison is your mentality. The mentality. The prison is when you allow yourself to cheat on your family with your job. You're leaving your children in prison. So that's why my wife feels the need to kick up. She got to go get that pack and bring it back so we can split that. She got more pairs of work boots than I got. That's the prison. So we have to be mindful on what you mean when you say prison, because our people. Can I talk about the people that got a little bit more than 2,300 units of melanin per square inch in their skin?
I'm talking about us
people,
brothers and sisters.
Black people. We've always been in prison. We've been in prison through religion. We've been in prison through ignorance. And we allow it and accept it. We embrace it. My little brothers would much rather leave my house, his own bedroom. Got the little 50-cent posters on the wall, got your iPad, the PlayStation. He would much rather leave me and go outside and join a death style. Let's talk about prison. So again, we have to be mindful. Prison, honestly speaking, the actually going down South Jersey in the institution was the best thing that ever happened to me. It was the best thing that happened to you. How about had it not been for the building, sir, you would not be sitting here with this beautiful attire on, sitting here with helping ex-offenders help themselves. Street doctor, you would not be considered street doctor. You would be the notorious bank robber, sir. This is what I know. So again, prison ain't always a bad thing.
So basically, when prison was placed in some people's life, it helped them out.
Absolutely.
Right.
I agree with that to an extent. I agree with majority of what he said to an extent. Far as like going to jail, a lot of guys are alive today because of prison. You understand? Like I know I was out there, and I got people in this room like about like we was living. You know, there's an extra life. You understand? Like we was doing, we was too much. A lot of our guys that like they said what we was doing out there in the streets, leave you dead or in jail. Well, that's the truth. My boys gone or in jail. You understand? But as far as when y'all talk about the women, like
Do you think the woman is taking like the extra baggage of the family? I feel as though if I gotta work a job or do hustle on the street, that's why they probably more women going in and out of jail.
Yeah, but you can't only blame that on the men because at the end of the day, you got women.
Well, I ain't
that,
blaming it on the men.
If
Kirby
you
did.
think about it, you got women that fought for women's rights. You got women that's not out there. You understand? You got women that's willing to educate themselves and willing to go the extra mile to get a good job, take care of their family like my woman. You understand? She not out there slinging and banging and doing whatever. She go to work. You understand? She got benefits. She makes sure her house good before she makes sure anything else good. So you can't actually blame that on the men because even though jail don't reform, jail definitely don't reform. You go to jail. You know what's the most? You know what I hated the most about prison? Not jail. You know what I hate the most about prison? The most, I was bored. The worst part about prison is you're bored. That's where you're forced to pick up a book. That's where you're forced to go because they sit you down. Yeah, they sit you down and you ain't got nothing to do. You like, you know what? I'm about to go check this college class out and see what I can do with my mind. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what jail do. It bores you to death.
I heard you say it was like Groundhog's Day.
Yeah, like Groundhog Day.
The movie Groundhog Day.
Every day is the same exact day. You wake up, you don't know if it's Monday or Saturday. Only way you know it's Saturday because they calling visits out. You understand? Is the day is the same every single day. So jail don't reform. But far as the women is concerned, men, if you want to take it back that far, men left their children that put them in a predicament where their children growing up to do the same thing too. You understand? And it's a whole cycle. You understand? It's not just, they left the women out here, because we got the babies out here too, if that's what y'all want to talk about. The babies out here growing up without mothers or fathers. And they going doing whatever they doing, they growing up without mothers or fathers. So the women leaving they kids too. You understand? So it ain't just men leaving the women, it's everybody's leaving everybody.
I think the root cause of, not to cut you off, but the root cause of a lot of that is drugs. From my experience, I know that a lot of brothers and sisters is in there because of drugs. When we talk about the expansion of the female prison population, and the reason because that happens because of the harsh sentences that was passed in the state, New Jersey, which means that certain crimes carry at 85%. All right, the woman is also subject to much stiffer penalties than the men because of the laws that was passed. The question is America's getting this buck that is paid for when they got the theory of let's get tough on crime? Is that working? Actually, they revisiting that whole theory. We already know.
Let me ask you a quick question. I'm gonna piggyback off of this brother that said right here. When people go to jail, do you think it helped the brothers out?
Right. Well, what happened is I don't need to go to jail. I have over 18 years of legal experience. Like I said, I went from incarceration to graduation to now legal representation. I work at a law firm. I didn't need to, as I reflect back, I didn't need to go to prison to learn the law. Let's be very clear. I didn't need to have a record to even think that it's like, it's troubling to even think that, I had to go to prison to become who I am today. Right. I went to prison because of the error that I made in life, and I capitalized off that error and capitalized off my leisure time, and the best weapon that I had at my disposal while I was in prison was time.
But do the system in prison help change brothers' life? Like, okay.
Well, the change start with you.
Right.
Let's be very clear. You can play basketball, video. There's plenty of summers that I spent in prison in the library. You also had brothers that spent plenty of summers
On the yard.
in the basketball court. You understand? While I was helping free him, while he was on the sweating tears in the law library reading books, helping free him, only for him to come back. You understand what I mean? So prison, the change start with you. Whether it's in the prison or out here.
It's all about.
So it's not up to the system of the
The
prison.
change is the
gotta be
system
in
is
that
not in the
person.
business to helping you.
Right. And they
Let's be very clear on
Right.
that. You know, it's not in the business to help him. Ms. Baker touch on that.
Right.
The working
So-
system.
Let me ask you a question, Ms. Bay. In prison, why we not reforming the black man to go inside? I'm not just saying the black man because Asians and white people too. So men, period.
Why are we not reforming?
Yes, turn around and just, all right, if you can read, then we want to have classes in here to help you to read.
Okay.
Math, things like that nature.
Well, what we have to remember about, my name is Marem Bay, and
Yes.
I work at Dilettante Hall.
Mhm.
I was also an employment counselor at Kentuck. What the prison system is not in the business of reforming. That's the reality of it. It is a business. It is a big business. We have 65% of our men that are in prison.
Indeed.
Okay, we have over 8 million of our brothers and sisters, and that includes black, white, and Latino, but majority black and Latino, who are in the prison system itself through parole, probation, the bracelet, in jail, in prison, county, city, and all that stuff. It's a business, okay, and we have to remember that it's not about reforming. But however, the best place to start reforming is inside the prison, because reentry. When we talk about the reentry, it should start in prison before the brothers and sisters come out. That whole process of educating, changing the mind, and all that stuff, it should start at least 6 months to a year before that person comes home. Because I'm looking at it from a behavioral clinical position, since I work in the clinical department, right? It should be about changing behavior, not making it worse.
Right.
What happens in most of these prisons, it's about discipline, and when you become disciplined, and the way they discipline you, it makes you angrier. You know, it's not making the brother or the sister, it's not helping them to become a better person. Right. You know, it's not. You know, we're not dealing with anger management.
Way worse though, right?
It does get worse. It does get worse. But I just want to just piggyback on one thing that's really key to me. What the brother was talking about, the women going to prison and everything, and why that was so devastating to us. See, when drugs came into our community back in the 60s, okay, the men were using the drugs.
Right.
But once the women started using the drugs, it really destroyed our family. You know, and we have to look at it from that perspective, because then the children didn't have their fathers, but the mothers were always there to help them, to train them, to teach them, to do all that stuff. Once women started taking the drugs themselves, it really destroyed our community. Right. You know, so now when you sit down and you talk to brothers and sisters who are in prison, one of the things, and I'm sure the brothers in here can agree to this, there are so many issues that they're dealing with. Many of the young men and women have been abused, homeless, dropped out of school. I mean, it's a whole lot of social issues that we're dealing with. That's why when we talk about reform, we just can't talk about from one perspective, getting them jobs and everything. Because see, a lot of brothers and sisters are not ready for jobs. Right. You know, so it's the attitude that we have to work on as well. So it's a whole lot. But however, since we have so many people who are coming back home from prison here in Newark, Irvington, East Orange, we have to make sure that they're ready to come back into our communities. And that's not what the prisons are doing, because that's not what they're supposed to. That's not what they're all about.
Can I say one thing about that? You know why that's not what they're about? Because now you have prisons for profit. Understand? You got privately owned prisons.
Exactly.
I was reading something the other day where they were saying that a private company opened the prison, and they said that if they don't fill those beds up, they're going to sue the state that they're in. So they're pressuring that state to fill up the bunks and the beds that's in that prison. So if you don't go out and lock people up, we're going to sue you for money.
Because they have a contract. Yeah, absolutely. You're right.
And very, very briefly, right? Oh, I had to go and get my pen. No, this is deep. Everybody is right on the money. And what he just said, do anybody, I'm going to answer it, I'm just throwing it out to the people. Do anybody know how much money the person who got the toilet paper contract in the prisons? Boom. Every time a so-called, the reason why I say so-called, because they're not inmates, they're not convicts, but every time a human being that's locked up, ripens behind, that's ching-ching. It's a business. Yeah. It's a big business. It's bigger than education. It's bigger than all that. And something that Mr. Kirby said, all the guys that changed their lives, I'm one of them. You got Street Counsel, you got Kirby. I just met this brother over here. You got a few brothers that been down. Never know they was locked up. I had some kids say, you never was locked up. You making it up. I said, you got that. So that's good, because a lot of people didn't know Detroit Red when he became Malcolm. So the main thing is that I didn't serve time. Time served me. But that came later on, because I was one of the ones watching the Jerry Springers and all that stuff, because I thought it was a joke. But once I got it, when they put me in lockup for them 10 years, that's when I flipped the script. And I went on, and I'm going to just close out with this to show the separation. You got state and you got feds. Just so happens I did both. I did feds when I was young, because I'm an ex-bank robber. When I went in to answer your first question, I went in as a pickpocket. I came out as a bank robber. But Street, where did you learn that from? In there. You get educated in the jails. You feel what I'm saying? So I growed, a bad growth, I growed. And they sent me at a young age to a place called Leavenworth. I'm closing out with this. So when I got to Leavenworth, they got a place called Topeka, Kansas. It's in the center of the United States if you look on your map. I'm out there, 20 years old. You feel what I'm saying? So I said, how's I'm gonna get out of here, because I couldn't get no visits. So they told me, they said, Street, what you have to do, right? You gotta be like help the Indians. I said, what you mean help the Indians? Said the Indians, if you get them liquor, they call it hooch, right? They'll get you out of here. So I said, that's a myth, because they say the Indians, when they drink, that ain't no myth, brother. Tell me I got out of there.
They get messed up.
They get messed up, brother. So I went and got me a 50-pound bag of sugar and was taking it through the center. They attacked me, put me in the hole. I stayed in the hole 30 days. That's how I got out of Leavenworth. They shipped me from Leavenworth to Atlanta. But the thing is, I always wanted to know, I never seen a Chinese locked up. Know where they at? They did with the feds. They're in Leavenworth. And I never seen certain groups, Indians and Chinese. Indians, they on the reservation, so it's feds. Chinese, they master smugglers.
Right.
I don't know how they do it. They got the science to it. So that's all feds. That's why you never see them in the state for stealing the car, carjacking, and all the other stuff that they blame us on.
So Indians, they do a lot of white collar stuff.
White collar, top notch. Smuggling, which is big, and the Indians, they got to go because they're on the reservation. Then you got Washington, D.C. Whoever been to the feds, Washington, D.C., all them is there because if you spit, that's federal.
Well, I gotta get to my brother right here, silent warrior back here. I know you're ready to talk, brother. What is your take on the whole situation, bro?
I'm gonna just my name is Amare Terrell. I'm from East Orange. Just currently released from the feds. I don't quite understand what he's talking about. I'm one of the first Bloods that's on the East Coast, documented under George W. Bush and Governor Christie before the epidemic of the Bloods blew up in New Jersey. I was already doing it in California and Denver before that hit New Jersey or the East Coast. But I'm currently reinventing myself and my legacy for my family. I'm currently in a federal reentry program spearheaded by Attorney General Eric Holder, that's right under President Obama. So I do that every 2 weeks. And this is a great topic that you're discussing because the community is getting ravished. And I feel quite understand what you're saying and everybody else's input on it. My input is it starts with us first. We got to stop committing the crimes to put us in jail. Right. And that's one thing about me. When I first started, I wasn't scared to go to jail because when I was like 12, 13, I first started in the youth house, and I'm from East Orange. And if anybody that's from Newark know, you just hate East Orange just because you're East Orange. So when I came into the youth house, I had to fight for my sneakers, get jumped and all that. So I was already trained from the youth house to not even be scared when I went to prison. I've been in 5 different prisons across the country. Washington, D.C., Philly, Petersburg, Virginia, MDC, Brooklyn. And I was never scared of anyone. I know how to handle myself, but I never knew at the time when my brothers used to tell me that don't let the time do you, do the time. I didn't understand until I went to prison.
Go ahead, bro.
And that was when I realized that I didn't go to basketball. I didn't play basketball like that. I didn't go in the yard with the homies like that. I went to every program they had to offer because when I used to smoke weed, I did ecstasy, and I did a lot of drugs when I was on the street, although I was selling drugs. But once I sat down and my mind got cleared and I realized the effects, what I was doing, everything my father didn't do for me, I realized I was continuing that pattern with my own kids by not being there. And from that very day, the last time I got locked up, December 4th, 2008, I had that conscious, and I said, I'm not selling drugs no more, I'm not committing another crime when I go home. And I promised my kids that I'm gonna do what I need to do by them. And I started, what she said, I started reforming myself right then and there. Every parenting program they had, and the management program they had, I took a 9-month drug program, and just changing my thoughts and just trying to get a better understanding of who I am as a man and as a person to be able to help my community. And and even with the program I speak at now, some of the guys is just so ignorant when you just try to give them your aspect, and coming from that, what we doing and what the life we live in is a mirage. We're not going to be Pablo Escobar. All we doing is hurting our families. At the end of the day, when you go to prison, it's your mother that's going to take care of you.
Right.
Your brothers, the people that really genuinely love you, the ones that you're hurting, is the ones that's going to take care of you through the whole time. So now that I come home, I just try to go speak to the kids, the youth, and let them know that I wasted 23 years of my life to get to the position where I'm at right now, getting a job, thinking about 401k. When I was in the street selling drugs, I didn't have life insurance. Now I have life insurance. So I could have got killed and my kids would have had nothing, So prison for me saved me. Like he would say, it saved me because I wouldn't been here. It saved.
But let me ask a quick question. Everybody said that it's up to the person, it's not up to the jail to reinvent a person, right?
Indeed.
It's up to you.
Indeed.
And I hear that everybody is saying that. That's agreed upon, right?
Yeah,
Everybody
but
agree with that.
Yeah, but you're right. It is up to you, but you gotta have the resources to help you.
Right.
That's
what I was talking about.
Right,
The
I
system.
mean,
If
yeah,
they making you, like he said, he went in there as a pickpocket at first. Then he came out as a bank robber.
right.
He didn't go in there and came out with an education or a different mindset. You know what? I'm gonna go out here. I'm gonna give me a good job. I'm gonna take care of my family, and this was what it was gonna be about. He didn't come out like that. He thinking like, I'm gonna make this quick money when I come back out of here.
Right. But see, again, the resources are so key. Resources include staff. As I'm a case manager. So as a case manager, for me, I take things very personally. So I personally take care of the guys that are on my caseload. Like when they leave, I know what they're gonna do, where they're gonna go, because I make sure that when they leave, they have those resources, those referrals that they need. Even when I write letters for them, sometimes I write letters for them depending on what the case is. I may ask the judge to give them 6 months community service. Once I found out after TI, he got like thousands of hours of community service. I said, we could do it like that too.
Right.
So I do it like that because if this person, if he's getting ready to leave, if he's not going to be able to work, if I know that he's a kid that's just going to play around and just act crazy, then I'm gonna put something in place for him in order to help him until he is able to do what he's supposed to do for himself. So case managers are real key because we provide the resources for them. And so then, and the other issue, in jail, okay, right, there's not too much that's in jail, but there's a whole lot that is in jail.
Right.
And like the brothers were saying, you have to want it. But here's the other thing too. Sometimes a lot of brothers, especially if they're young, they don't know that they want it.
Right.
Because we haven't had those type of discussions with them. Just real quick, and I'll finish with this. I started a group, Strategic Thinking. And the reason why I started that strategic thinking group is because I was sick and tired of walking in the hallways and all I hear was negative stuff. How am I going to do it better when I leave? The girl that I'm going to get, where my stash is, all this stuff. Everything was negative. I said we have to have 1 hour of intelligent conversation.
Right.
So that's why I started strategic thinking. Let me tell you what happened with that. Once we started that group and we started talking about intelligent stuff, a lot of us said, well, we never talked like this before. We didn't know anything about, like the brother saying, like life insurance, the importance of that, our investments, our change, what change is all about. So my theory is that I don't blame you if you don't know. if the information hasn't been given to you. Once I give you the information, then I'm going to hold you accountable for it.
That's what I just want to say one thing off that, what she said.
Well, I mean, I don't want to cut you off, brothers, but this guy eyes is beaming on me. He got to say something. Say something to the camera. What's your name, brother?
John Thompson Jr. And I too am a case manager at Kentuck. You know, the thing about it, and I tell my clients this all the time. You're in this program because of the invisible hand of politics. What's going on in society, I mean, you know, or what's going on in our communities. Look, they pulled back so many resources that we had no choice but to cannibalize our communities by doing what some of these cats are actually doing. Excuse me. So if in fact that there is the allotted resources given back, money for, you know, extended care, job training, health, even jobs, to help with education. You see what's going on in Newark regarding that $100 million that Mark Zuckerberg gave to Newark. None of that money reached students. So the corruption starts, and my conversation always goes in the direction of politics. It starts there, because if you can remove the spigot, the hold on the resources from this level, all of that stuff can funnel down into the community. It can. And if you look at what's going on, let's say Montclair, Bloomfield, Glen Ridge, they don't have these problems that our communities have. And it matters that we have fathers stepping up and doing what's important for their families. It matters.
Well, what's the difference between the suburbs and the hood?
The difference is that they serve.
Money. Suburbs got money, and we don't have.
Also,
That's
the key difference is not. I'm sorry, brother. I got to answer this. The key difference is that they target certain segments of the community than other communities.
And he's 100% correct on that.
Real simple.
If you look at our urban environments, Irvington, Orange, East Orange, North, every last one of them look the same. If in fact you remove the name off of their locations.
Not Irvington.
Let me tell you something. You think it's worse or it's better?
Worse. Way worse.
So you know why it's way worse because of the size. Because of the size. But if you spread it out over the size of East Orange or Orange, it's the same community.
Well, look at the
So what I'm
prison
telling, hear me on this, brother. Hear me on this. So my thing on this is, if in fact if we had elected officials who we held accountable for doing what's in the best interest of our community, the best interest, dude. I'm working on it. I'm going to put this out there now. I'm working on this petition in East Orange. And it's literally about holding my elected officials in that area accountable. If it works the way I think it will, we can bring $344,000 back into the community. Back into the community. And most people think that that's a farce. They think it may be something that, like fairy dust. But I was working with, I can't say the lawyer's name, but this lawyer helped me put this stuff together. I found this law in the very books that these guys use to hide the information from us as a community. If you want to beat the game, if you want to beat these guys, you got to learn their game. You have to, and you got to play it better. I don't know the game of chess, but I know the concept of it. Let me tell you something, you put those pieces in play, and you start taking these people off the boards, then you'll see a change in your community.
I
Guarantee you.
You gotta want to play the game though. Like chess, like you said, like we go back to the resources. Like you're right, it's not that many resources there for everybody, but the ones that are there, you got to capitalize on.
Right.
You got to be one to go out and get it. You got to want to do it. Like we said, like we was talking about down in prison. Like they got a few things down there, but it starts from yourself. You got to want to do it. Like I'll be honest with you, I did 3 different bids. And in the first 2 times, like I was talking that to my relatives and everybody that was talking to me, like you gotta stop doing that. And I'm like, yeah, I know, I can't do it. No, you know, like you said, my mother died while I was in prison. Understand? So, like you said, you gotta put on masks. I'm in the shower crying on a sneak tip. You feel me? Like it hurt my heart. You understand?
Yeah.
But you feel me? But I didn't really want it until now. Until around that time, my mother died while I was in prison. Then I had a daughter that, I'm like, yo, my daughter ain't gonna be growing up like the rest of these people here. I'm out here. Feel me? Now me, I go in and work any job.
Right.
I do anything not to go back to prison. Right now, it's probably one of the longest times that I haven't been back in jail. I'm talking about not to put on a police car, not put in nobody county, not nobody precinct, nothing. I go and shovel snow before I have to do anything else. I'm not gonna keep going back to jail.
Do you think that's on maturity or because the things that you went
It's
through
from-
in life, losing your mother?
It's from maturity and the things you went through at the same time, because like I said, you gotta want it. You understand? You gotta want it. You can't just because it's there and you know it's there, and you got people that's around you. They probably go get it. You surround yourself with the type of people that that you want to be involved with. Like they say, people who smoke weed hang with people who smoke weed. People who go robbing hang with people who go robbing. And if you surround yourself with people trying to better themselves and their lives, you're going to want to better yourself in your life.
What about these young boys? Let me ask you a quick question. What about these young boys? They want to go to jail like it's a badge of honor. I went to jail.
Let me touch on that, because it's two things. I want to touch on that, and I want to touch on something else that was said. First, we keep using this word reform and everything when you go in, and rehabilitate, because that's what most politicians drive their campaign on. Rehabilitation. There's no way you can rehabilitate anyone who hasn't been rehabilitated. I said this in my book. This book has been out now for 6 years. I wrote this in the book 6 years ago that they're dealing with now. You talking about programming? Programming, it doesn't help. If a person don't want to help themselves, you can give them all the resources in the world. If you're not ready to change, you're not going to change. Everybody has to come to that fork in the road for themselves. As a man, as a prisoner, as a formerly incarcerated, because every year they put another name on the prison population. Yeah. You have to come to that within yourself. Nobody can do it for you.
Yeah, but these young boys don't know that.
Let me tell you something. These young boys do know that. The same way, see, we forget, we all grew up with that I don't care moment in our life.
Right.
They're only a reflection of us.
Right.
These are our kids out here. These are our brothers and sisters out here.
Right.
They doing the same thing we did. When you used to go to the store with them sticky fingers, you ain't care. What make you think they gonna care? It's the same drugs, a different time. When we was coming up, it was California coolers and weed and little joints. Now it's blunts, Cisco, and
more guns.
And more guns.
Which is
So
a big difference.
it's changing. It's changing. It's changing. But they're saying
actually,
not
Cisco
caring.
was old. That's the
Cisco is it's Hennessy and Ciroc now. They're all with the C. But it's changing because the same I don't care mentality is continuing to go. And we're not connected. We're not connected, man.
Right.
We're not connected.
Indeed.
Well, let me ask you a question. How can we reach these young brothers? Like I was saying about the badge of honor, they didn't go into jail. Now I come back on the block and I'm hard because I was in jail.
Right. The thing is, in order for you cannot raise a little man to be a good man. What you have to do is be that good man so he can mimic his ways and actions after
That's
you.
it. Excellent.
You understand me? You cannot train him to do nothing because he is an image of who you are.
Right.
That's why on the spiritual aspect, when you stand before your Lord, you think he's gonna go tap Raz Baraka or Cory Booker on their shoulder and say, well, why didn't you do? Right. If you pray, God, which politician will be the best for my city? He gonna say you is. Mm-hmm. Who gonna save my family? He said you is. Right. So with that being said, we have to do away with the looking down our nostrils at them same little boys because they're us. Right. If you take the time out and visit the so-called Green Monster, you'll see a whole bunch of your nephews running around.
Come on.
Whole bunch of your sons running around. And there's no killers. Wait, right. We've even allowed everybody in society to dismiss our young brothers as being killers or gay because they sagged their pants. Then I too was one of the fellas that sagged my pants because I was lawless. I ain't gotta listen to nobody. I ain't even wear shoestrings in my shoes. Look, I still ain't got none. What? You understand me? The reason why we done this is because we was a strong sense of lawlessness. But we've allowed our people to adopt the perverted European ways of dressing and acting and carrying on. We've allowed them to much rather do that than what we're doing because us fathers are nothing but gorillas in the bedroom and junkies. We've left our kids out to dry. I remember as being a child writing on the wall with a magic marker, my mother would stop me and pop me on my hand and say, don't do that. I get a little older with the spray paint, I graffiti on the wall. Police will stop me, don't do that. It's gotten to the point now that they're doing graffiti on their face. They're drawing machine guns on their face. And on their neck, they got anybody can get it. Right. But then when they stand in front of the honorable Judge lynching nigga,
Come on.
he don't see a little black boy. He don't see a misguided nephew of yours. He see a killer. And he treat him as such. But we've allowed ourselves to dismiss our babies. We've even allowed our daughters to lay up with some other little girl and call her boo. We forgot that we told our daughters to stay away from them little boys. Stay away from them boys, and they do. And furthermore, they meet a little boy, and he down. He got a hand problem, a pill problem, and dick.
Yeah, well, nowadays you gotta
Right.
stay away from little boys and little girls.
Hear me? No.
2014.
Right.
And
So
so
again,
on.
but it's easier to dismiss than to correct. In order for you to correct, all you have to do is just be in position.
But it's
You ain't got the other word.
It's true.
Let me
Let me
get
point the finger, though.
let me get the brother right here to speak.
Right on time. Right on time when he said, you have to be the example.
That's it.
Okay, and let me give you a perfectly clear picture. I dressed it down a week. Some kids came up to me and said, hey, will you
Right.
go to
tired.
sleep, man?
Right.
Will you tired? But I didn't know that these guys was watching. You feel me?
Right.
But I wasn't like my pants down. But you know, last week, and Street Counsel could bear witness this, me and a brother named Rockman went in the youth house for career day. We had 4 kids in the room, the first ones. So I introduced myself so I can open up. Real recognize real. I don't care how old he is. I said, my name is the street doctor, I'm ex-bank robber. So he said, all right, your name? My name is Mook Mook. What you in here for, brother? Murder. I said, okay. Name? So-and-so. What you in here for? 2 murders. I said, hold, close the door. How old is you? 14. Brother, this is real deal.
Yeah, that's real shit. I like this.
The whole kiss.
That's what I'm talking about.
Couple,
Talking about real stuff. That's what I'm coming.
Brother,
Yeah, that's how I'm with.
I say close the door.
Right.
They closed the door. One of the sergeants came in, and I said, they said she can stay. Know why they allowed her to stay? Because she was like you, Miss Bay, in there. You different. You
Yeah.
hands-on.
Yeah.
You know, like back in the day with the teachers. My mother gave her permission. You can tear him up later
Yeah.
for diapers.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
Right.
So bottom line, the sergeant say, come in. I start crying. She say, well, you better go in the room and cry some more because half of the jail is in here for murder.
Yeah.
These are kids.
That's the reality.
They 14, 13 years old.
That's the reality.
Right? So I went off and they escorted me out. I don't know if I could go back in there. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see all of them. It was a career day. So they say no. And I say no, later for career day. You know how we just worship certain holidays. Mother's Day. It's a Mother's Day every day.
Every single.
You ain't got no problem with it because some people need that to say, all right, let me do something for my mother. But to the conscious people, that's every day. Our little kids need so much help. They call it the village. We don't have no village no more or nothing. I just wanted to piggyback off.
Speaking on that village.
Hold on one second. I'm gonna ask you. Question. Brother had a question right here. Brother Bond.
Well, it's 2 things you gotta look in terms of when you talk about the prison system. One, there's 2 types of population. There's people who don't care about prisoners, who say you shouldn't have did the crime to begin with, and why do your prisons need to be luxury? Why do you need to have this and that? I want you to suffer at the highest level so you don't go back in there.
Yes, sir.
You got that population. Then you got the population who understands, who has some sense of humanity, who says, listen, that doesn't change anything, because you got a lot of brothers who went in there for petty crimes, tickets, things like that.
That's right.
It came out worse than they went in.
Go ahead, brother.
Then you also have to understand the concept of slavery. We're the only nation that went through slavery. It's a book you should read, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome by Dr. Joy Living.
Yeah.
The very thing we go through is what she talks about. Generations and generations being passed down. If I don't love myself,
Come on.
I ain't gonna have no love for you.
Sure ain't.
So these young brothers, like right now, me and my man Bishop, SOS, we go into schools, talk to the kids, a program. We have about 16 kids.
SOS, bro.
All 16 of the kids, it means saving ourselves without a truce between Bloods and Crips.
Yes, sir.
All 16 of the kids in the gang. We say, we make the teachers leave, close the door.
Right.
And we say, keep it real, it's between us. These kids start talking about, hey man, I was popping mollies, I was doing this, that. Word, like, schooling us, but
Come
we
on.
listening to them, we not condemning them.
No, sir.
We saying, yo, at the end of the day, you my little brother. Now, I was running for office, I just ran for South Ward Councilman. Half of the kids that was in the program, I see them on Elizabeth Ave. They see me in a suit and tie and everything. It made them so happy.
Come on.
Cause they was like, yo, that's our brother right there. He doing it.
Yeah, that's right.
The same kids, when you say, how do we change them?
Indeed.
All they wanted to do was just go somewhere.
Right.
They's like, brother, just take us anywhere out of here. They'll be happy just if you take them to New York City. Say, we gonna walk around 42nd
Yeah.
Street.
Go ahead.
On a
And
bus ride.
sometimes that's all they need.
That's right,
Like
bro.
he said, they just want a hug.
That's it.
Right.
Some of these brothers we was talking to,
Come on.
they were young boys. They was like, yo, man, nobody never talked to us.
Show don't.
And you
Go
would
ahead.
be
That's
surprised the intellect these cats have. We asked them about politics. We asked them about Cory Booker and everything. You know what one kid said? He said, Cory, you wouldn't think of it. He said, Cory did justice. He brought spotlight to the city, whereas though made people want to start to do something, whether good or bad. So we just sitting there, and then the whole room started talking about politics.
Come on.
Nah, man, you can't be like that because there's no resource. Now they 15, 16, 17, they was addressing their own problems.
It engage.
And that's the thing.
That's what needs to happen.
People
Engagement.
just talk to the young boys
Come on.
like that.
Yeah.
Because they got a lot of knowledge. You know what I mean? Because a lot of us, we just scared of them.
Right. And that's deep
That's
that you
easy.
said that.
Where's it going? You see a dude standing on the block with his
That's
pants
easy
hanging
to be
down.
afraid
Would you
of.
want to talk to him?
Right, but see, I don't have a problem with talking to him. I worked the
No,
gang.
I'm talking about, you know, the average cat.
Right, I worked the gang unit in Northern State Prison for 8 years. Went through all types of security clearance. But the thing we gotta focus on, what's the remedy? Bottom line, we already know what the problem is. We know what the issue is. What's the remedy? The issue is that the sister talked about re-entry. The issue is, brother, we need to focus on pre-entry.
Right.
What I mean by
Get
that?
there.
What I mean by that? When you have a young brother, I go into the high school and I got a young brother who's a troubled teen, meaning that he has demonstrated a pattern of behavior of straight F's on every quarter. All right, we don't look at him when he get into jail. Say, "Oh, I knew that he was gonna go to prison."
Come on.
Huh? What we do is we interject and we go into the schools and we see that we need a list of all the troubled teens. Why we need that list? Because we already know that they study in 3rd and 4th grade test scores
Yes.
to determine 10 to 15 years how many prison
ahead,
beds
Mo.
is going to be needed.
That's right.
Huh? So what we do is we go in and we need a list of all the troubled teens. And we do this like yesterday. Huh? And we mobilize a team throughout this city, and we start with the urban city. Why we start with the urban cities? Because most of the prison population comprised of people from the urban city.
Go ahead, Mo.
All day.
Huh?
Come on.
So this is what we do. We get a list of all the kids in there. And then what we do also, we set up a mobile command center. We set up a mobile command center. We got a police command center. We even got a health command center. Is it effective? We don't know. Bottom line is we set up a mobile command center in every troubled area. And we mobile inside them communities. And we snatching up the teens and we providing Kentop, Logan Hall, and these Talbot Hall, all these halls, we combine that in the community. Hands on, right there on the spot. This is what we have to do, man. This is the metaphor for the remedy.
Indeed.
That's a
Indeed.
great
Can I
solution.
add on? I appreciate you, Black, man. I truly do.
Yes, sir.
Listen, I personally, myself, I do the same thing. I'm in the schools.
Yes, sir.
I do not wish to go to the jails. I like to catch you right there at the schoolhouse.
Right.
You understand me? Because we it seems like we forget
Yes, sir.
that they're allowing them little 6 and 7-year-old boys, they diagnose them as being attention deficit disorder.
yeah,
But all it is, it's a little boy that want to run, jump, hop, skip, and all of that.
Come on.
You understand me? So again, we allow them to shove a pill down his throat just to put his fire
Come on,
out.
brother.
Mommy don't say nothing because there is a $700 check attached
You better,
to this.
you better go ahead.
Right. Never mind the fact, like you said, 3rd and 4th grade, if you're not progressing, they know to build another Southwoods for your black ass. You dig me? So again, what do we do? Not only that, but my question is, there's 1,000 schools in my community, but my children still come home dumb as a brick.
Come on.
We got 1,000 hospitals, yeah, we still sick. Bunch of police, yeah, we still going to jail. So again, what must be done?
Hello.
My personal answer is I think we should just simply wake up. Right. We all are naturally the people of God. If you got the breath of life in your nostrils, you're a man of God. Hell with what book you reading. Don't really mean nothing. Because it also said, but it did say in the book, if you're fruitful, if you're faithful over a few things, I'll make you ruler over many things. Now, you mean to tell me you expect for your Lord to give you a job where you can't even teach your son to tie his fucking shoes? Excuse my language. So again, we got to stand up. Right, we got to stand up immediately. Even in the same elementary, high school, they told my daughter, listen, if you by chance You make a mistake and lay with this guy. Don't tell your mother, the school, or even the social worker. Get up $75, go to the nearest pharmacy, no prescription needed, and you'll get the Plan B pill.